Hi, I'm Chelsea Forsini, and I am the Associate Director of Programs at the Opportunity Network, and I'm really excited to talk today about voting. So what motivates me to vote mostly is the energy of the community. All being out there together, casting our vote, making sure that our voices are heard, and that my voice is reflecting how I want to have our communities cared for. First, we can expand voter eligibility. People that are eligible to vote right now is limited to U.S. citizens 18 years and above. So I think by making the voting age younger, expanding it to not just U.S. citizens, but also permanent residents, would be a way to expand the voices of the youth in our democracy. I also think that having more representation in our government, both in our local government, in our state government, in our federal government, people like AOC who are holding these jobs, taking them very seriously, and sharing with their communities what it is that they're actually doing, so that we can all learn a little bit more about what happens in government. I think that that's really helpful in including the voices of youth. As you know, she and many other representatives are in constant communication with their constituents, which include youth. What makes this election different than previous elections? Oh man, so much. This is not the first election that I'm voting in. It is the election that I feel the most anxiety about, I feel the most urgency about, and I feel so compelled to do whatever I can possibly do to advocate for change in this election. I know that our democracy is fragile. It has never worked for everyone, but we can shape it, we can make it better, but we need to protect it so that we can do so. We need to protect it with our vote this November. I think first, expanding the mediums that candidates are using to communicate. So, breaking previous molds, maybe not just speaking on cable news or even via the typical debate format, but finding other ways to connect with young people and how they're currently connecting with each other and receiving information. And then, of course, speaking to issues that young people care about, listening to young people to know what they care about, having that reflected as part of their platform, and also listening and learning about folks, especially young people that are doing this work. They're advocating for change in their communities, lift up their work, give them credit where credit is due, and involve them in the conversation. A long list. I am voting first and foremost to protect our democracy so that we can improve it and make it stronger and more accessible and more inclusive. I'm also voting for the environment. I'm voting for environmental protection. I'm voting for an acknowledgement of climate change, and I'm voting for a set of actions that we can take as a country to combat it so that we have an earth in which to inhabit. For our generation, for future generations. I am voting for human rights. I'm voting for the rights of people of color, of immigrants, of women, of marginalized populations that have not been receiving equal or equitable opportunities in this country, and in many cases are victims of violence and oppression. I am voting for dismantling systems of repression that have firm roots in our country's history, continue to be a part of how society is governed, in our policies, in our statuses, in our policing, in our schooling. First and foremost, my vote shows that I will play the part that I can to work towards change and progress. And my vote is a vote against white supremacy, fascism, and corruption. I actually didn't learn that much about voting at school. When I was younger and just starting to vote, I actually learned the most just by talking to my friends to learn how to vote, looking things up, having access to the internet, being able to research candidates, and find what elections were coming up in like